Today we're going to be learning all about algebra. So this is 5.1, the introduction to algebra. Alright, so algebra is where you use letters of the alphabet to represent an unknown number. So for example, 2n minus 5 is an algebraic expression that you might see. The choice of the letter doesn't matter. Okay, it can be any letter of the alphabet can be used, but it might help you remember what that represents. So n might represent number of something, starting with n. All right. So or h might stand for height, w might stand for weight. So doesn't matter which one. Normally x and y are common ones that are used. You might see. Alright, so you might ask, why learn algebra? Finding x is only useful if you're a pirate. But it is very useful, and the next slide will tell you why. This is why, because there's going to be a test 6 weeks from now, so we need to learn algebra. And it's fun. I actually really loved algebra at school. Alright, so algebra terms you need to remember. You must remember. Memorize, understand. If you do not understand these, then you will not be able to understand what you are doing. So you need to make sure that you understand what a pronumeral is. It's also called a variable. So that is a letter that stands for the unknown number. Okay, so it's called a pronumeral or a variable, and they are the main things used in algebra. A term is can be a single number, or a single pronumeral or variable, or it can be a mixture of numbers and variables together. Terms are separated by the operation signs of addition and subtraction. So you can tell where the terms are by looking for the operation signs which separate them. Now, a coefficient is the number in front of the pronumeral. So it might be 2n like in the previous example. So the coefficient is actually the number 2 is the coefficient, and the n is the pronumeral. Okay, if there is no number in front of the pronumeral, so it might just be an x, for example, then the coefficient for that is actually 1. But we never write 1x, so we never do that. We always just write the pronumeral, and that represents 1. Okay, it just assumes that it's always 1. So let's give you an example so that you can understand what I'm talking about. So we need to list the individual terms and identify all the coefficients. So the terms, as I said, were separated by the operation signs of addition and subtraction. So in this algebraic expression, there are 3 terms. So we've got one here, and one here. They are all the terms. Okay, so you can see they're separated by the plus signs there. And even though some of them have numbers in front of them, some of them don't, they're still all terms. Now, within those terms, you have the variables or pronumerals, and you have the coefficients. So we have the coefficients, which are the numbers here. So it's the number 3 is a coefficient, and the number 13 is also a coefficient. Alright, now who can tell me the coefficient of this one? So that's actually, the coefficient of b is actually 1. Alright, so it has a coefficient of 1. Alright, now we didn't have to identify the variables, but I'll just point out that the variables are these numbers here. They're the variables. Okay, so they vary, they can change, they represent an unknown number, and they're different. The representation of A in this expression will be different than a representation of an A in another expression. Alright, so there's more things you need to know. If a term does not contain any pronumerals or variables, then it's called a constant term. Now you can probably remember it by knowing that it's constant, it doesn't change, it's just a number. It's usually just any number, and it's 5 represents 5, and it always represents 5. So it will never change. 5 will always be 5. So that is a constant term. And an algebraic expression consists of numbers and pronumerals combined with addition and subtraction. So this whole thing here is an algebraic expression, the whole thing put together, whereas we've got different parts of the algebraic expression here, where we've got the constants, the operation sign, the variable, and the coefficient. Alright, so you need to remember all those terms. Now I want you to label the terms in this algebraic expression and identify the coefficients, constants, and pronumerals. Please pause the video and do that now. Okay, so hopefully you were able to identify the individual terms. So there are 3 terms. So I might just put terms here. And that's a term, the whole thing's a term, and that whole thing is a term. Alright, so now I'm also going to identify the coefficients. So that is a coefficient. Alright, and the coefficient of x is 1, of course. I never write that e properly. Coefficient is 1 for that. The constants. This one's the constant, isn't it? Alright, and the pronumerals, we had to identify them as well. So we've got this one and this one. Pronumeral. Alright, hopefully you were able to do that. And that you did that well. You really need to know all these different things, like I keep saying. Okay, so when we are writing algebraic expressions, sometimes they'll be in words and you need to actually form them into the numbers, alright? So it's really important that you understand what words signal the operation that you need to do. Okay, I'm not going to go through each of these, I just want you to make sure that you write this down and then you can refer to it when we are doing our algebraic expressions later. Okay, so you will be asked to write algebraic expressions from words, like I said before. So when we are doing that, you need to remember those things on the previous page. So 5 more than k is obviously addition. So if you want 5 more than k, you've already got k, and you add 5 to it. So that is the algebraic expression we need to write from those words there. Alright, now if we want to double the value of x, we're timesing x by 2, but when we write algebra, we never use the multiplication sign. So if you have a look down the bottom here, you can see if we are writing 2 times x, it's actually the way we write it in algebraic terms is 2x here. So you never use the division or multiplication sign. When we are doing that, it's just 2x, which means 2 times x. Now, 3 less than m, so we've already got m. We take 3 away, so less than means take away. Alright, now the important thing here is not to do 3 minus m, because that is not right. Just because the 3 comes first in the phrase does not mean you write that first. Do not be fooled. Please make sure that you understand what you are doing. Alright, now the product of C and D. So we know what we have to do. The product means multiplication. So when we are multiplying C and D, we don't do C times D like this. No, we don't do that. All we need to do is just write CD. They're next to each other, that means we multiply C times D. Alright, and then the sum of A and B, this gives us a signal as to the fact that it will be addition. So just do A plus B. Alright, pretty easy. You can do it. Okay, so now we might have expressions with more than one operation. So you might need to add and divide, or subtract and multiply, something like that. So I'm going to give you some examples of how you would do this. So this one, P is halved, then 4 is added. So we have P, and we divide it by 2, then we add 4. That would be what we would write down. Now the sum of x and y is taken, so we add up. Sum means add up x and y, x plus y, then we divide by 7, Okay, now here, the next one is the sum, we've got sum again, sum of x and 1/7 of y. So we've got x plus y divided by 7. Okay, and D is 5 is subtracted from K, and then the result is tripled. So we do this first bit, so K minus 5, and the result of that is tripled. Oops. So we have to actually put that in brackets because we want to do that first. Then to show that we're actually going to multiply it, I'll just rub this a little bit out, we need to actually put the 3 in front of the brackets. We don't need to put the multiplication sign. The 3 with just the brackets there means whatever the answer is in the brackets, we multiply it by 3. We need to remember to do BOMDAS with all this. Alright, it's your turn. I want you to do these yourself. Pause the video and work them out. Okay, hopefully you are getting into the swing of things. So the sum of K and 5, sum means add, of course. So we have K and we add 5. Alright, 4 lots of Y. So we have 4 times Y. So 4Y. 1/3 of Q. Q divided by 3. And the product of n and 9, so we're multiplying because it's got product, and we actually write it 9n. I hope you had a really good go at these and got a couple right, if not all of them. I'm really impressed if you got them all right. Well done. We're going to try and do some more tomorrow, and yeah, we'll be into the algebra thing and we will love it. Okay, all the best.